What is up, guys? Welcome to another G4 video. Today I want to talk about the best Druid build for early game for Season 1. I actually tested that build in the Eternal Realm, but in Season 1 it seems to me that it's even better. Ever since we got this particular Poison Creeper aspect, it's absolutely mind-blowing. Now, first thing first, before we go any further, just want to mention that if you want to adopt this build, to use it, you need to have this specific aspect. All other aspects not that important, they're useful, but this one is a must if you want to use the build. Basically what it does is every single time when you use Trample, the landslides will follow, see? That's very powerful. So without this aspect, you cannot really adopt this build. If this is the case, you can play Pulverize because as you know, in the chapters that you're getting in the season, you're getting specific aspects. For instance, in Chapter 1, you're getting the aspect for the Poison Creeper, Subterranean aspect. In Chapter 2, you're getting the Shockwave aspect, which is incredibly powerful. So if you don't have this particular one, if it never dropped for you, then the best way to go is Pulverize. However, if you do have it, I'm convinced that this build is much better than Pulverize, especially against bosses, because you know Pulverize kind of struggles against bosses. I'm going to demonstrate that in World Tier 2. I've been farming this particular stronghold for a while, Temple of Rot, and it gives crazy good experience. And the reason why I'm using World Tier 2 is because World Tier 1 is super easy and there is zero challenge there. And I want a little bit of a challenge. This is the reason why I am playing World Tier 2. Now, a few words about the build. Once again, we already established that you need to have this aspect imprinted on your amulet. Also, I have some other aspects that additionally boost the damage. This one, again, you can clear a dungeon in order to get it, so it doesn't have to drop. Earth skills deal 62% more critical strike damage to crowd-controlled enemies. Here I have Earth skill gain 2 plus 2 ranks every single time when I have Fortify, and it's extremely easy to gain Fortify as you're about to witness. I'm having this particular aspect which increases the Earth skill damage every single time when I cast a Storm skill, and I have 2 Storm skills. The first one is Hurricane, the second one is Storm Strike. And lastly, we already established I have the Poison Creeper new aspect, which is crazy good. And since yesterday, I believe it's fixed, because yesterday the landslides coming from it were not really that great. However, now this is no longer the case. A few words about the Spirit Boon. I'm taking reduced damage from elites. I'm taking critical strike chance increase, critical strike damage increase. Pack Leader, this one is pretty cool because actually Poison Creeper can reset its own cooldown. The landslides that follow the Poison Creeper can actually reset the cooldown of the Poison Creeper itself, so absolutely busted. And here I'm taking every 20 kill will cause your next Earth skill to overpower. However, if you want, you can take Calm Before the Storm so that you can reset or reduce the cooldown of Petrify. A quick look of the abilities, and then we will continue with the build itself and how it works. Now, I'm taking Storm Strike with Enhanced Storm Strike for Immobilize and Fierce Storm Strike for Vulnerable. Also, Storm Strike provides 15% damage reduction, which is useful. I'm taking Landslide here. This is pretty obvious with Enhanced Landslide and Primal Landslide. Also Predatory Instinct for additional critical strike chance. I'm completely ignoring the defensive, even though for certain fights you're going to need it. For instance, if you're fighting the Capstone Dungeon, I would strongly advise to get Bulwark. But if you're fighting regular content, then you don't need that. And at this particular point in the game, it's very easy to respect and very cheap. Poison Creeper, the next ability I'm taking with Enhanced Poison Creeper and Brutal Poison Creeper. I'm taking Hurricane with Enhanced Hurricane and Savage Hurricane. The reason being, Enhanced Hurricane slows enemies, and that's extremely important. As you can see, I have so many aspects that trigger, in particular one aspect that increase my critical damage to crowd-controlled enemies. And if the enemy is slowed, it counts as crowd-controlled. So, this is the main reason why I'm taking the Hurricane, also getting some damage reduction in the process. Trample with Savage Trample, because this is going to be our way to generate Spirit back. Once again, probably the biggest drawback of this build is the fact that the Spirit generation is low. It's actually non-existent. The only thing that generates Spirit is Trample and Storm Strike. Also, passive ultimate, but we're going to get to that later. We are taking all points here for Crushing Earth, Safeguard, and Stone Guard. Safeguard is actually our way to Fortify. Here we are getting Envenom so that we can increase the critical strike damage against poison enemies. We're taking our Ultimate Petrify, we're taking Defiance, Natural Disaster, and Resonance, and we're taking Earth and Might so that we can have chance to increase our, to actually refill our spirit. However, if you want to go balls to the wall, full damage, then go for Ursine Strength. Now, how the build works, if everything goes together, for instance, if you use Hurricane, then if you Poison, then if you use Petrify, the damage output is insane. I'm going to showcase this on an Elite. I'm going to activate my Hurricane, I'm going to hit him with this, I'm going to trample inside, and I'm going to one-shot everything in my path. This is how strong this thing is. Of course, I didn't in this particular case. I have no cooldown of my Poison Creeper. I actually used it, but it got refreshed. So in a way, currently I don't have any Spirit, as you can see, but that's not a problem, because I can come here, I can use the Vacuum Cleaner, I can go right there, and again, destroy everything in my path. The only drawback here is that I used all of my skills. They are now on cooldown, so I have to remember that this build actually has low cooldowns. I have to be careful not to get caught when everything is on cooldown, especially your Trample. But in a lot of cases, you don't even have to use Trample because all other abilities are pretty strong. So I'm going to enter a dungeon, I'm going to do Poison Creeper here, actually destroying them by simply by virtue of my Poison Creeper. That's incredible. Now there is a boss who's going to spawn right there. I'm ready for him, so I'm going to do this, and everything is going to die, which is perfect. Unfortunately, at this point, I'm out of Spirit, so I'm going to just kite them for a while. Then I'm going to Poison Creeper, and they will die. This is how strong this build is. Once again, the only drawback is that it has relatively high cooldowns, but if you have, let's say, good skill management, you won't have issues with that whatsoever. But the best part of it is that the damage is simply incredible. There we go, I just one-shotted this elite. And again, you will probably say that I'm taking damage here. That's right, I'm taking damage because my gear is super bad. I'm about to change my gear with with Sacred Gear in a second. This is going to probably happen to level 46, 47. I will start farming World Tier 3, and I already have a couple of, let's say, armors and stuff like this, which I collected at the Sacred. Anyways, let's clear the rest. I'm going to use again the Vacuum Cleaner, doing this, and destroying absolutely everything. Those elites got deleted, and those elites are pretty strong. And I mean, World Tier 2. Imagine how strong this thing is World Tier 1. Again, if you want to use this build in World Tier 1, you can one-shot dungeon bosses. It's incredible. Of course, everything should come together. First thing, you have to poison, then you have to make sure they're vulnerable, then you have to activate Hurricane, yeah, a lot of things should come together, should align. But if you do that, you can one-shot dungeon boss with that build without any issues whatsoever. And it all requires one particular aspect. This one is good to have, but you can pretty much use the build without it. And this one you can farm in a dungeon, so that's not a problem. Hey guys, this is me from the future. Just a couple of notes that I missed to mention. Actually, one note, if you're wondering about the Malignant Hearts and what you should be using, the most important one is the Inexorable Force, the one that pull enemies towards you, like the Vacuum Cleaner. The rest is totally up to you. So yeah, basically this is all I wanted to mention. Alright guys, I hope you found this video useful. I'm going to link the build in the description. If you found this video useful, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and see you next time.
Perfect.